What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. I know, guys, I haven't been uploaded in a very long time, but over the past few weeks what I have been doing is working on my content, buying new equipment, buying new gear to make sure that all of the content looks very professional. I just want to take this to a whole new level in 2024, and I said I'll start now. So guys, in this video what we're going to be taking a look at is a liquidity strategy. With this liquidity strategy, guys, it's going to help many of you get millions of dollars in funding in 2024. Forget the 6 figures, we're going for 7 figures straight away, guys. Okay, so this is going to help many of you get there. And the most beautiful thing about this strategy is it's very mechanical. It leaves very little to intuition. So I know a lot of you are going to find this very useful. Now, before we get started, guys, I'd request for you to go down into the description right now and follow me on Instagram. I post a lot of content there, a lot of interesting shit, so make sure to follow me because I know you're going to find it interesting. As well as that, before we do so, click the Telegram as well. I post a lot of different tips, daily analysis, etc. So I know you guys are going to find that very valuable and useful. And every single thing is 100% free. I have absolutely nothing to sell you. So you already know that everything that I'm going to provide in this video today is going to be of actual use and value. So make sure you stick all the way through to the end. Now, without further ado, let's get straight into the lesson, guys. So I'm heading back to the office now. I literally got into a trade a little bit early because I just finished up from the gym. Usually I like to be in at the office for 1 p.m, but unfortunately today I took a little bit longer. But I seen the perfect setup, so I had to get in. So I'm going to show you now the setup once I get back to the office. Okay, guys, so let's take a quick look at the trade right here. So as you can see, I'm nearly up 5 hour, just a little bit short of 5 hour. Trades playing out beautifully right now. Probably going to close it very soon. Maybe once we hit 6 hour, I'm probably going to close. As you can see, essentially what happened is, I'm going to explain this trade breakdown in detail in a moment now, but I just want to show you as the trade's playing out. Once I close it, I'll hop onto the PC and give you a full breakdown. My entry is a little bit late, and that's because I entered on the wrong account and realized it was the wrong account. I was 100% sure I'm not going to miss this trade, so I ended up hopping in again on my correct account. A little bit late, but I think still personally worth it. As you can see right here, this was kind of the order block that I was getting into, and currently I'm watching the order flow as it's playing out to make sure that the buyers are still in control, which is hence why I'm still holding. Okay, guys, so if we take a look at my TradeZilla first, and essentially this is what I use for my journaling. I think journaling is extremely important, and if you are not journaling, you are not optimizing your setups to the best of their capability. Okay, so as you can see, essentially my entry was right here. We're going to break it down properly on TradingView in a minute, but my entry was right here, and I got out of the trade right at the top right here, which is a pretty decent area to get out. I'll show you exactly what I got out there as well. If we take a look at the stats, this was probably a 4.5 star trade for me. Essentially, this is what I believe that the trade was. And this is essentially based off my rules, confirmations, etc. Now, if we take a look right here, this was my initial target and my target got hit. So as you can see, this was a nice $3,000 trade right there. Okay, guys, so here we are on the TradingView. Now, the strategy specifically is based on two main important things, and that is liquidity and time. And I believe they're probably the most important things when taking a look at technical analysis in general. Liquidity and time. I'm not really that concerned about price. I'm concerned about where the liquidity grab occurs, and then I'm also concerned about when that liquidity grab happens. A lot of people forget to merge the two. Now, when taking a look at gold, so essentially I'm breaking down the trade in hindsight. That's very clear. But we already know, as you've seen already, I've taken this in live and I've shown you the entry live, and the trade was running live and when I got out. Okay, so this is obviously in hindsight, and this is a couple of days after the trade has occurred because I didn't get time to record, but that's just a quick heads up. So using the replay tool is going to be the best way to do this. Now, guys, one of the first things that I like to do is, first of all, have a fairly good overview, fairly good understanding of what the fundamentals essentially are saying for the week. So for the week, gold was looking pretty bullish fundamentally. Okay, there was a decent amount of news for us, and it was all just pointing to the upside. Now, when we take a look at market structure, I don't think you need to really look into it that deep because it's so obvious essentially that the market is to the upside. Okay, clearly the market is forming lows and putting in higher highs, forming pullbacks and putting in higher highs. It's very clear. Okay, so I didn't deep it that much. So this was kind of where we were at. And what I like to do essentially is I like to use the open sessions VT indicator. And this tells me each session open. Now I only look to trade 2 hours in London, 2 hours in New York, and I only trade after the sessions have opened. You'll notice that if you backtest every single session, at the start of the session, you'll usually get some sort of manipulation. Any person that gets in before that manipulation most likely is going to end up getting slapped out of their position. Always wait for the session open to occur. Only then do you look to enter. So I have a time frame essentially of 2 hours after the session open. So I only trade then. Now, taking a look at the London session right here in the Asian session, you always expect some sort of manipulation. Now, what I like to use, the ICT calls it the power of 3. I've been calling it now for the past 2 years, simply just the 3 market phases. And I essentially look for consolidation, manipulation, and trend. But what's very, very important is this is not just a simple pattern. You also have to put timing into consideration. So a lot of the time, what you notice is this is the Asian session. This is a few hours before London. That's the manipulation. And then after London opens up, that's the trend. And a lot of time you can get in on a fallback, a break and retest, and just get in. I also can do this as well for the New York session. All I'd essentially wait for is simply just for New York to open, to clear the lows or the highs, to either clear the lows or the highs. Now, market structure comes into play and I'm going to show you how. So if I'm bullish, essentially what I'd want to do is I'd wait for my order block or point of interest to be here. Then I'd wait for some consolidation here. And then I'd wait for just before New York or when New York opens up for manipulation, everyone thinking that's a breakout to the downside. And I wanted to tap into my point of interest just as that manipulation happens. Only then do I look to get into the setup to catch the trend. And the trend most of the time is always going to be with the direction. And the direction is to the upside. And remember, we're trading probabilities. Does that necessarily mean that that trend is going to hold the whole way through? No. But the probability says, if you understand anything about probabilities, you'll know that's always best to stick with trading the trend. Now, everything else is very, very simple. Okay, everything else you've probably seen already on YouTube, order blocks, institutional candles, FVGs, etc. It's the same stuff over and over again. If you take a look at right here, we have an FVG or we have an order block right here on the 1 hour time frame, but we also have this order block right here on the 4 hours. So this is kind of what I was looking at. Now, the trade was very simple. I had this inner liquidity. This inner liquidity acts as inducement for me, but it's very, very important when this liquidity gets grabbed. Now, as you can see, this is the London session, and this is kind of the low right here. And we take a look at structure right here, and as you can see, we have this box, this range. So liquidity is below, liquidity is above. Essentially for me, there's a simple rule. It's not always the case, but the simple rule that I like to abide by is whichever side's liquidity gets cleared first is usually where I'm going to trade opposite to. So if it gets cleared to the upside first, I usually trade to the downside. If it gets cleared to the downside first, I usually trade to the upside. 2 things are key here. Market structure. These are things that will make the trade obsolete or actually valid. Market structure and the timing. It's very, very important. You stick with the market structure. Very, very important. You stick with the timing. So obviously, I'd want this to happen and then up. I wouldn't want this to happen because I'm going against the structure. I'm right at the premium right here. It just doesn't make sense for me to sell unless I see a proper market structure shift or a break of structure. So then what I would do is I'd wait for, obviously, this is past my time frame. My time frame will be here to 10 a.m. from 8 to 10. So I'd simply just wait. I'd wait for New York session to open up. I'd wait for New York session to open up, and New York session straight away opened up. Straight away as New York session opened up, what does it do? We wick this low. Wick this low, straight fill in the FVG right here. And what does it do? Tap into the order block on the 4 hour time frame right here. Tap into the order block on the 4 hour time frame, and away it goes. Now, a lot of people might not been able to catch this straight away. I usually like to wait for confirmation. So the way that I look to trade this is actually very, very simple. I can do it in 2 ways. I can either get, essentially what I could essentially get is a 1 minute break and retest, or I wait for a 5 minute break and retest. There's 2 things. Now, with this specific setup right here, I did not wait for a 5 minute retest, and a 5 minute break and retest is much, much stronger, much, much higher probability, and this is what I'd probably use for the most of the time. But the 5 minute break and retest would have been all the way up here. Doesn't necessarily make sense for me to have a stop loss this big. So it didn't make it worth it for me. So I went a little bit more aggressive and a bit more risky and waited for a 1 minute break and retest. And a 1 minute break and retest right here for me would have been here. all I'd simply wait for is which is the high that formed the lowest low, which is the lowest lows right here. And that's the high that formed the lowest low. So I'd simply just wait for a break and a retest on that. And as you can see, this trade happened really quickly. So you need to always be present right at the open. And that's all you need. The first 2 hours of New York session, you can catch most of your setups. That's how easy this setup is. The break and retest, and I would simply just enter straight away. And I entered the trade. I got in a tiny bit late. It was about, I believe somewhere right here, as I seen this react, and I got it. And as you can see, the trade absolutely went to the moon. Now, the TP for this was not just any random TP. I essentially had the ADR, and this is the average range usually for like the average distance that usually gold would do every single day. So I usually target the 75% of the ADR. And this is usually a good target for me. So essentially when price came all the way up, and let me just check one more time to make sure that this indeed was my exit. So as you can see right here, my exit was 20.2743, and that was 75% of the ADR. Now guys, there's also one confirmation that I still used, okay, that I haven't got time to explain all in this video, but something that I will release a full series on. And this is probably my secret tool, it's my superpower essentially in the markets. Because this tool essentially allows me to see the strength of the buyers as they step in. How powerful would it be, okay, if I could predict if the buyers were actually strong in this push up? Imagine if I could predict that there was actually true buying intent in this push up in order to support this move up here for me. And there actually is a tool for that. And this tool is called the Orderflow footprints. Now, the Orderflow footprints gives me details in regards to the strength of the buyers and sellers on both sides. And we use this using the delta analysis. So this is going to give me the net difference between the buyers and the sellers, because the volume only essentially tells me the strength within a battle, but the delta is essentially going to tell me the strength of both participants in the market in comparison to one another. This is very, very, very important. Now, we will definitely break down Orderflow a lot more in the upcoming videos. I just wanted to introduce you to this strategy and this model essentially. And it's a very, very basic model. You don't really need Orderflow for it, but Orderflow is like the cherry on top. That's pretty much it for this video, guys. Make sure to subscribe, click the notifications, and also like, because as I said, I'm going to be explaining Orderflow in much, much more detail on the channel. With that being said, don't forget to do all the things that I said at the start of the video. There's also a free ebook down below for you to learn a little bit more about Orderflow, what it is, etc. But once again, I appreciate every single one of you for sticking all the way through to the end. One last thing before you go, guys, we pass prop firm challenges. So if any of you are interested in getting your prop firm challenge passed by actual true professionals, then click the link down below in the description to join our Telegram channel. So that's a quick shout out to my team.